Honorable members, let us pray. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and their good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. Amen. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, item 4, correction of votes and proceedings and official reports. We start with the correction of votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 22nd November 2022. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, is that an honorable member? No. Please. Page 11, page 12, page 13, page 13.
Honorable Speaker, page 9.
Page 9.
Because I've been standing when you got to page 9.
Yes.
Please, this is a minor correction. Item 7, that's the questions. The question, second sentence, the Minister for Environment Science. So let's separate environment and science with a comma. Environment, science, technology, and innovation. Thank you.
Yes, table office. The correction is in respect of the question. Environment standing alone before the science. So we go back to page 13. Page 14. Yes, Minority Leader.
Speaker, page 14. With your indulgence, probably for table to go back to yesterday's order paper. Page 14, the Honorable Chairman for the Public Accounts Committee was item 8F, F, not E. And that will mean that Mr. Speaker, that will run me to page 15. The F there would also be G, not F, unless I'm not, and I believe I'm right, because Mr. Speaker, when you got there, you were emphatic yourself. When the leader asked for the Bank of Ghana reports to be done and left out public services, you came back and said 8F. So it cannot be recorded as 8E. It should be F. And then the constitutional legal report was G. Mr. Speaker, I have requested even for yesterday's order paper to satisfy myself that I'm right. So it should reflect accordingly. Thank you.
Yes, table office, kindly take note. Page 15. Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the votes and proceedings of the 17th sitting held on Tuesday, 22nd November 2022 are hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. Honorable members, we move to item 5, urgent questions. The Minister for Interior, yes, Majority Chief Whip.
Speaker, I will wish to seek your kind leave for us to vary the order of the urgent questions. Speaker, respectfully, start with 5C instead and follow up with the other questions duly. Speaker, with your leave. So instead of starting with 5A, B, accordingly, we'll start with 5C and continue to the other questions, Speaker.
Minority front bench, there's a request. No objection. But, Honorable Majority Chief Whip, I thought you were giving us a reason why you want us to vary the order of business as proposed by you. But that's usually not normal. Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, why I said no objection is because of what you know yourself, and probably I didn't want to litigate because the Honorable Minister for Interior walked to you quietly at conclave to indulge you, to allow him to be part of the team of ministers that will see the president off, probably on a foreign travel. And therefore the understanding was that the Honorable Minister for Health would start then subsequently followed by the Minister for Lands. Then as and when the Interior Minister gets back, he would be available to respond to the question. Mr. Speaker, when he made the appeal to you, you had no difficulty indulging him, and I believe that is why the whip is making the application. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minority Leader, what about item 5B? (5B) is not directed at the Minister of Interior. Yes, what about the Minister for National Security? Yes, Majority Chief Whip.
Speaker, we have a bit of a difficulty reaching out to the National Security Minister. He is one minister who has often attended upon the House, and since morning I've been trying to reach him. I'm informed by the table office that he was duly communicated to. So we will only momentarily stand it down whilst we work on the others. Very hopeful that he will respond positively to the call. So with our apologies.
Yes, Minority Leader.
Speaker, I'm aware that the Minister for National Security, the Honorable Kandapa, is currently hosting a number of foreign heads of state and actors on the Accra Initiative, which is part of government strategy to deal with the threat of terrorism. That being the case, Mr. Speaker, we can proceed with other questions as and when it's available. We do know that he's a very responsible minister. If he avails himself, we can accommodate him. But Mr. Speaker, I got a call from him yesterday on our way to Dr. Kwesibochu's funeral that he was involved in this engagement and even wanted the leadership of Parliament to participate in the dialogue. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, the minister should have at least given notice to the House. It's not just the Speaker, it's the House. And so when I grant the leave or permission, I do so for and on behalf of the House. The House has not been informed, and it's good that this be made known. It's a good reason, but I don't want this House to be taken for a ride or for granted. So please, I will permit him to show up at any time today, or at least communicate to the House through me, and then we could reschedule the question for another day for him to come and answer. With this, honorable members, we'll start with urgent question number 5C. And this question stands in the name of the honorable member for Medina, Honorable Francis Xavier Kojo Sosu. The Honorable Minister for Health is taking the appropriate seat. And Honorable Member, you may ask your question now.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, with your leave, I would like to ask a question on behalf of the Honorable Member of Parliament, Xavier Sosu.
It's not just my leave. You must have the authority of the member to ask the question. If you don't have his authority, I cannot grant
I have
you
his
the
permission, Mr. Speaker.
You have his authority?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, what is the authority?
Verbal, sir. Verbal authority, Mr. Speaker.
Verbal?
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker.
That for what reason is he unable to come and ask the question himself? Yes?
Something has come up. He has an emergency, I'm sure.
Something has come up.
Yes. Unavoidably absent, sir.
I told you I don't want to hear that word. The unavoidable absence cannot be for members of parliament. It's for the speaker. So why is he absent today? He would have told you anyway. Honorable member is part of the grade. Yes.
This week, he didn't tell me the reason, but he just asked me to ask a question on his behalf in his absence.
Well, I don't have any reason to doubt your integrity. And so I will take it that I know the honorable member very well, that he actually authorized you to do so on his behalf. So you may do so now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask on behalf of Honorable Francis Xavier Kojo-Sosu to ask the Minister for Health the measures being taken to provide free cancer and tumor treatment for children holding valid NHIS cards in all public and private hospitals which have the requisite expertise and experience to deal with such conditions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, due to the challenges associated with financial barriers to accessing cancer care, Ghana has strategically eased such costs by expanding the National Health Insurance Scheme's benefits package to include 4 childhood cancers, namely acute lymphoblastic leukemia, Burkitt's lymphoma, retinoblastoma, Wilms tumor, also known as nephroblastoma. Mr. Speaker, these inclusions took effect from July 2022, following the development of protocols and tariffs and the inclusion of requisite oncology medications on the National Health Insurance Medicines List for the management of the conditions. Patients should be registered NHIS subscribers with active membership. Mr. Speaker, a referred patient whose investigation result is suspected to be cancer and is aged between 0 to 19 years qualifies for the commencement of free childhood cancer treatment, which starts with specific investigations to confirm the cancer stage and or risk. This period may also include supportive care to manage certain complications due to underlying cancer, including infections, pain, anemia, etc. In the instance where there is a relapse in the condition that requires treatment to restart, the relapsed cases shall be considered as new childhood cancer cases, provided they meet the inclusion criteria. Mr. Speaker, only credentialed facilities of the NHIS with fully equipped laboratories and the requisite cadre of providers, pediatrician and or pediatric oncologist, and hematologist, as per clinical guidelines, are allowed to diagnose, treat, and manage any of the 4 childhood cancers for NHIS reimbursement. Mr. Speaker, the following facilities which meet the standards as applied above, thus qualify to provide childhood cancer services under the NHIS. And the facilities that have been accredited to do this, Mr. Speaker, are as follows: Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Konfanoti Teaching Hospital, Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, Tamale Teaching Hospital, Ho Teaching Hospital, Greater Accra Regional Hospital, and Holy Family Hospital at Techima. Mr. Speaker, any other NHIS credentialed service provider or providers which subsequently meet the above standard in the future shall request of NHIA and the Health Facilities Regulatory Agency to be credentialed and included as a center eligible to actually treat or manage childhood cancer patients. The above measures are outlined in the reimbursement protocols document authored by the National Health Insurance Authority to guide the inclusion of these benefits. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Member Any supplementary?
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
No, Honorable Member, you are unavoidably absent. Unless you are giving me reason to doubt the integrity of the Honorable Member for Adentan. He sought leave to ask the question on your behalf because you were unavoidably absent.
Right, Honorable Speaker, that is very correct. We were having a Constitutional Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee meeting this morning to consider some referrals to the committee. So, Mr. Speaker, when I heard that the minister was in the House, I actually employed my colleague to do that on my behalf. But, Mr. Speaker, I reckon that there may be some follow-up questions that I would want to ask the minister, and that was why I rushed in whilst the answer was being provided. So, Mr. Speaker, with your leave, if...
No, I'm sure you understand the word absent.
Mr. Speaker, I perfectly do understand the word absent from the chamber at the time.
That's your understanding.
Within the
you have
context.
to read the Constitution to see whether the absence is referring to chamber or parliament.
Mr. Speaker, I will be well guided by that. I will do further research into that. Right, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, when you want to help a colleague, please come out in a very candid and truthful way. Then we will understand you. But when you do so, and the member appears, then it becomes a very difficult matter. I will not go beyond that. But a word to the wise. Yes, I know the importance of the question, particularly a question dealing with the wealth of the nation, children. And so I'll permit you to probe further by asking supplementary questions. Yes, you may do so.
Right, Honorable Speaker, we are very much obliged and I'm very grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would want to know from the Honorable Minister whether the protocol he referred to is already government policy. And if it is already government policy, is there any timeline for commencement of the use of those protocols that allow children with NHIS, valid NHIS card, to have free cancer treatment and management?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the protocols I mentioned are outlined to guide reimbursement for cancer treatment. Immediately, we expanded the benefit package. We added these for childhood cancers onto the benefit package. And it means that all other diseases that can be subscribed under health insurance will have protocols that will go with this same particular one. We did this because we have selected just a few centers, as I mentioned, that can do this particular treatment. And therefore, the protocols will outline these centers and give them specific things that they can do, which will qualify or be eligible for reimbursement. Apart from that, the normal reimbursement procedures and the payment periods will apply to treatment of these cancer patients, children. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, any further?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I would want to know from the Minister if he has taken judicial notice of the current practice where children with either cancer or tumors are paraded around the street under the pretext of soliciting for funds for purposes of care of those conditions. If they have, is there any plan at the ministry, particularly in respect of public health education, in respect of these children, and why people should desist from that and encourage them to resort to the use of regular or the orthodox medical facilities that have been provided under this protocol?
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just I mentioned in my answer that we were successful to add on these cancers to our benefit package just last July. And we have done adequate publications and public pronouncements to that effect. At least all our hospitals in the country now are aware. And anybody who is ill and has self-insurance card, we expect will visit a clinic, and then they will get referrals to our facilities. So adequate public education has been done, and I believe the idea or the concept of people begging from radio stations and in the middle of the streets and from some of us MPs is going to go very low with time. So let us observe this for a while, and you'll see the impact of what we are doing on such type of cases that come up. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Member, you still have an opportunity to ask another supplementary question.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I would want to find out from the Minister a proposal that I have made in respect of compulsory care for children who have both cancers and tumors in the form of a private member's bill before this House. And I've gone ahead to propose that persons who are seen with children in the condition that I described earlier could be punished under law. Would the ministry consider supporting such a proposal before this Honorable House?
Well, Minister, if you are aware of it, I don't know, and you're prepared to share your opinion on it, you may do so.
Mr. Speaker, I have not seen that proposal, and I will be grateful to my colleague if he will send me a copy of what proposal he is talking about. But my personal views, Mr. Speaker, I wouldn't want to believe that my personal opinion will matter in this matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Whereas a private member bill initiated by the honorable member, which is still going through the process. And so I'm sure you'll soon get to know. Yes, honorable member.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I just wanted to find out, I heard the Minister make the point that they announced since last year the coverage of tumors and cancers for children. Does it cover all cancers and all tumors in children, or it is a specific list? Because cancers and tumors are not generic. There are several different cancers and tumors that require different treatment. So is it a broad coverage for all cancers and tumors or specific cancers and tumors? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think I mentioned in my answer that we have picked just these 4 cancer cases that have been included in our benefit package. Thank you. Just I mentioned them: acute lymphoblastic leukemia, Burkitt's lymphoma, retinoblastoma, and Wilms tumor, which is also referred to as nephroblastoma. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, the second deputy speaker to take the chair. Yes, Minority Leader.
Speaker, understandably, question time, ministers have the opportunity to elucidate on government policy is it the policy of this government to provide free treatment for children with cancers? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Chief Whip.
Speaker, it's too early in the day to engage my respected leader. But if it's a question of policy, specific policy that my respected leader is desirous of knowing from the minister, I mean, by our orders, he might as well file a specific question. So he should stay clear and allow the minister know.
Yes. For once, I'll turn down the question from the minority leader. Yes. So, Honorable Minister for Health, on behalf of the House, let me thank you for attending upon the House to answer an urgent question. You are hereby discharged. Honourable members, we may now jump into main questions, and we will start with question 1068. 1068. And the question stands in the name of a member for Adaku, Honourable Kwame Gavin Abuja. Yes, Honourable Kwame Abuja, is he not around?
Mr. Speaker, respectfully, the Honorable Kwame Abuja is absent today and gave his permission to me to seek your leave to ask the question on his behalf. I was just informing my leader about that leave before you called him.
Well.
Well, I'm seeking your kind leave for our own Deputy Minister to stand instead for the Minister.
Speaker, since he wants us to be meticulous, he must give reason why the Minister for Lands and Forestry is not here, and he wants a stand-in. So he must walk two legs. Why is the Honorable Minister for Lands unavailable to answer the question? Then two, he can then seek your leave to allow the Deputy Minister, who is our colleague, to answer. So if you want to go by rules, let's play by it. So, Mr. Speaker, give us reason. Where is the Minister for Lands and Forestry?
Yes, Honourable Chief Whip, where is your Minister for Lands and
The Lands Minister is one of a kind who often attend upon the House. And early hours of the morning, he called me that he was not feeling too strong. He was not feeling too strong this morning. He wasn't feeling too. So he's ill, and my respected leader should be informed duly. Otherwise, he would have been here. Would have loved to be here himself.
Well, leave granted. Then the owner of the question, who has given power of attorney to Honourable Member for Ningo Pram. Yes, Honourable Member, the Deputy Minister is available to listen to you. So let's hear you.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources if government disposed of some landed property since 2017. If so, how many transactions were made? What was the value of those transactions? And who are the beneficiaries of those transactions? Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on Thursday, 3rd February 2022, a similar question was asked by Honorable Roxanne Nelson E.K. Dafiamapo, the Honorable Member for South Dai, on behalf of the Honorable Member for Adaku, Honorable Kwame Govins Aguza, in whose name the question stood. Mr. Speaker, again on Thursday, 3rd March 2022, this same question was listed to be asked by Honorable Kwame Aguza, but was later stood down. Mr. Speaker, since then, similar questions have been asked by other members of Parliament for the periods between 2009 and 2016, as well as 2001 and 2021, which I duly answered on Tuesday, June 7th, 2022, as captured in the Hansard for the day. Mr. Speaker, again on Tuesday, 28 June 2022, the Honorable Kwame Aguza asked the same question, but this time in respect of only the Greater Accra region, which I duly answered. Mr. Speaker, I wish to reiterate that, as has been the case in all governments under the Fourth Republic, government has disposed of some landed properties since 2017. As to the number of transactions, the beneficiaries, and value of those transactions, I rely wholly on my previous answers given on 3rd February, 7th June, and 28th June 2022, as captured in the Hansard for those days. Mr. Speaker, when the Lands Commission, the repository of these information, finishes compiling the records, including those relating to previous years already requested by the House, I will furnish the House with the information. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes. Honorable Sam George, any supplementary question?
Yes, Honorable Mr. Speaker, it is extremely worrying, the posture and response by the Minister, to suggest that Parliament, which has oversight responsibility, is asking you for accountability, and you are suggesting that we are repeatedly doing that, would suggest that you are averse to accountability. But that being said, the last time you appeared before this House was on the 28th of June 2022. Is the Ministry suggesting that since that time there has been no disposal of landed property for you to say that the results or the report you gave to this House on that day, today, the 23rd of November, remains the same?
Very well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I share his concern. But then, just like the answer given the other time, Mr. Speaker, the Lands Commission currently operates a manual system. And as I informed the House, this data is being compiled manually. So it requires considerable amount of time. My information is that they are still working on them, including the period between 2001 and 2022, which was asked by Honorable Fred, or by my Honorable friend, the member for Abura Assembly, Kwaman Kesi, Honorable Morris Donko, the other time. Mr. Speaker, the Commission is currently engaging to undertake a massive digitization and digitalization program. And when that is done, this information available to the general public will be given, Mr. Speaker. But until then, Mr. Speaker, the data will have to be compiled manually. And as and when the Commission is able to put the data together, we will submit it. Mr. Speaker, it will be in due time, in due course. They are working on it. We will bring it to the House as soon as it's available.
Yes. Honorable.
Right Honorable Speaker, I reluctantly accept the explanation given, but since this is the People's House that demands accountability and oversight, can the Minister give us a timeline? Because he told us of this manual compilation in June of this year. It's been 5 months since then. Can he give this house, a house of records, the people's house, a timeline by which this manual compilation will be done? The people cannot wait in perpetuity for you to do your job. We want more efficiency. Can you give us a timeline?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, like I said, because this is being done manually, and we are collecting all this information from across the 16 regions of the country, it will be difficult for me to give a specific timeline. I'll be slow in giving timelines, Mr. Speaker. What I can assure the House is that we will do our best to expedite work on it, and when they are ready, they will be made available to the House. The members should kindly bear with us. We will let him have it, including the House. And then Honorable Minority Leader as well. We'll let you all have it.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I kept hearing from the minister's answer to the question that it's being conducted manual. Are you suggesting to this August House that the Lands Commission hasn't gone digital? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Lands Commission has the data. In fact, they are the repository of all government data in terms of land. And they don't have them digital. As we speak now, it's a process that is ongoing there, where they are scanning all the hard copies of documents which dates back from 1900 till now. And it's a process. We just don't want to truncate their process specifically for us to just move on to these years. It's important that we take our time and do it, and then do it properly. So, like I said, I'll still ask them to bear with us.
Speaker, will the minister be kind enough to tell this House how recent did this digital intervention start, and what has been the situation before?
Minister, I haven't asked you to respond to that question. We move to question number 1241. Question 1241. And the question stands in the name of a member for Karachi East. Karachi East, Honorable Wisdom Gidisu. Honorable, you are on the floor. You may ask your question now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to ask the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources what steps the ministry is taking to operationalize the mining of mineral deposits discovered in Oti region to create wealth and employment for the youth in the region. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, iron ore deposits have been discovered in the Oti region, around Jamurume and Wawaso, with new deposits being observed at Nkwanta to determine its economic viability. Mr. Speaker, we are still at the exploratory stage of the mining value chain of this mineral. Currently, the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Development Corporation, GISDEC, the statutory body responsible for the promotion and development of an integrated iron and steel industry in the country, is undertaking mineral resource estimation at one of the 7 blocks in the Jamurume and Wawasu areas. Satellite scans have been completed, and mapping and geophysical surveys are underway. This is expected to be completed within a year and a half. So far, 10 people from the local community have been employed. In addition to iron ore, the Ghana Geological Survey Authority is carrying out geological investigations into limestone deposits to define and quantify their economic potential for exploration. Government's policy objective for these minerals, however, is not just to mine, but add value to them to feed the downstream industry. This is why government in 2019 established GISDEC to promote and develop an integrated iron and steel industry in our country. This will create several employment and economic opportunities across the value chain, from mining to refining to downstream production. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure my honorable friend, the member for Karachi East, that this August House, and indeed the good people of Oti region, that the government of President Akufo-Addo is fully committed to ensuring that these mineral deposits in the region are exploited and utilized for the benefit of the people of Oti in particular and Ghanaians in general. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Wisdom, any supplementary question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the Minister for this elaborate answer and also the assurance given to the people of Uchi. We are grateful. Mr. Speaker, we all know the health hazards and environmental degradations associated with mining. And that has been a major concern by people living in mining areas. I want to find out from the Minister the preventive measures being put in place to actually curb these situations. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Gidisu, may you take the question again?
What I was trying to say is that we all know challenges that people living in mining areas, communities face. That is environmental regulations, health hazards associated with mining in the communities that these activities take place. So I want to know from him the preventive measure he's putting in place to curb these things in future, in case these things happen in the Uti region. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Minister. You may.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I can understand the concern of the honorable member, but so far, as we speak now, in the Oti region, there isn't any serious mining going on there. But then, I will assure him that before any serious mining begins over there, we are going to ensure that we put in place all the necessary environmental measures to forestall any environmental or health issues that will come up in future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Wisdom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay. Mr. Minister, reports from the Minerals Commission shows that community mining is creating a lot of jobs, especially in the southern part of the country. And also, especially with the introduction of this gold catcher, that is reducing the use of mercury for mining. Very, very perfect. I want to know from you whether there are plans to expand or launch these community minings in the northern part of the region, including Oti region. Because since it's doing well, creating a lot of jobs and increasing our revenue generation, whether you have plans to extend this into the north. Talking about the community mining. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there are plans to expand community mining to all the mining districts, which are 89 in all, in Ghana. And we, in the Ministry and the Minerals Commission, we are in the process of doing that. My young colleague, that is the Honorable Mirikuduka, who is responsible for that, has been going around the country interacting with the various communities and then the various districts, and those which are ready for commissioning are done. And it's an ongoing process.
Your last slot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I further want to know from the Minister whether the Mineral Commission has plans to review the local content list this year for the pages of local inputs. That is pages of goods and services. Yeah, because I'm saying this thing has saved a lot of country some money by entrusting contracts into the hands of the local people, and also supply of fuel into the hands. Whether the ministry has any plans to do that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The local contest list.
Yeah, that is a significantly different question, and he should apprise himself to Order 69. So he should apprise himself to Order 69. You could reframe it. You could reframe the question.
Very well.
Speaker, that question cannot be allowed.
Very well. Very well. Minister, are you minded to respond to that question? You are not. Very well. So, Honorable Wisdom Gidisu, you may file a separate question in that line so that the minister will come and answer that question. We move to question 1284. Question 1284. This is a constituency specific question. Let's hear you.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, the question asked was for the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, what steps the ministry is taking to operationalize the mining of mineral deposits in Oti region. In the answer of the minister, I saw only iron ore and limestone. Is it the indication from the minister and the ministry that it is only these two mineral deposits that have been discovered in Oti region? Thank you.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yes, I mentioned the occurrence of iron ore and also limestone. Mr. Speaker, that is an indication that there are large occurrences of pegmatite. And pegmatite will then also signal to us that there can be other rock minerals. For example, we know by exploratory works that minerals like lithium can also be found in Oti region. But then, Mr. Speaker, it's early days yet. Geological Survey Authority has to do more work for them to unravel the quantities, whether if they are economically viable or significant for more works to be done, and also for us to invite investors to carry on the work. So it's an ongoing thing, and you can be rest assured that we are aware it is not only those two, but then there are other minerals there, and we are working to ensure that we unravel them and bring them up also for production.
Very well.
Mr. Speaker, the last one, please. I'm the MP for the Jamome and Wawasu. According to the chief, you've only shown up once, about 3 months now. They have not seen your people. May I know what's happening?
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank the honorable member for drawing my attention to this. But then, just to inform the honorable member that those who came, these are field staff, these are geologists. Whatever samples that they collect, they need to send them to Accra to the laboratories where they will do the other works, after which, before they can come back again. I'm sure they are still doing those works in the laboratories, and they will be there to carry on with the work again. Thank you.
Honorable members, from Karachi East, we move to Qatar. Qatar. Honorable Kwame Gapi. Is he not around? South. K2 South. Are you Qatar? Yes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. The area in question is inside K2 South, and the MP is unavailable today.
So let's hear you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources how many acres of the Keta Lagoon was granted to Kensington Industries Limited of India to use as brine for salt production. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, by a restricted mining lease made on 29th December 2011, Kensington Industries Limited, now Seven Seas Salt Limited, was granted a 15-year lease over an area of the Keta Lagoon measuring approximately 6,004.48 acres. The area subject of the lease is located at Adina, Agabezi, and Blegusu, all in the K2 South District. The lease is valid till 28 December 2026, when the 15 years granted will expire. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to know from the Minister whether within this stipulated time, the company has approached the Ministry for an expansion of the area that they were originally given, being Adina, Agavaji, and Blekusu. Have they come back to you to apply for an extension? And was that extension granted? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the company has put in 2 different applications for 2 mining leases. The first is in respect of an area measuring approximately 4,256.68 acres, and the second one measures approximately 1,318.426 acres. Both applications are being processed and have not yet been determined. The only place that the company has rights over is the 6,004.48 acres granted in 2011.
Yes, your last lot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, the 15 years, when it has expired, do they stand a chance of re-engaging and having an extension? And if so, are there conditions that they have to fulfill before that permission is granted? Are there conditions that when we granted you the first 15 years, you played by the rules and therefore you qualify for an extension? Are there any rules to that effect? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just like all leases or agreements or contracts, they come with clauses and, I'll say, covenants. And as such, yes, they will apply, and if they go through all processes, to the extent that they comply to them, why not? The Ministry and the Minerals Commission will go through that process and then effect a grant of an extension. But they have to do the right thing. That's the most important thing.
Haven't you exhausted?
Mr. Speaker, this is...
Okay, let's hear you for the last time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Minister, I want to bring to your attention that there are grave issues concerning the work, concerning the work of the company in the constituency and the adjoining one, which is Qatar. Is it within your means to assure this House that Parliament and the Ministry together will do right by the people of especially Katu South, because we have records of people dying within that space that they've been granted, and it is causing some seeming tension in the constituency and the adjoining one, which is Qatar. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is new to us and the Ministry. I will urge the Honourable Member to petition our Ministry with these concerns, and we will investigate them and then see how we can come to a solution to it. Thank you.
Honourable Member from Qatar, we move to Busa South. Busa South. Oh, Offer, let's hear you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the answer provided by the Minister, he refers to a restricted mining lease. I want to find out from the Minister what he means by a restricted mining lease, and also the process an applicant has to go through to get a restricted mining lease. Thank you very much.
Offer, is it a question that you don't know or you?
Speaker, the question that the Minister sought to answer is to ask the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources how many acres of Keta Lagoon was granted to Kennington Industries Limited of India to use as the brine for salt production. And he answers that a restricted mining lease has been granted. And for us in the House, we don't all know that. We don't all understand the restricted mining lease. So for our elucidation, I want the Minister to explain what a restricted mining lease is, and also the process an applicant has to go through. Maybe somebody will be interested in the area to make an application, so he is guided what he has to do to be able to get the license. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Over. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know the Honourable Member has been the substantive Minister for Mines, for Lands and Natural Resources before, and during his time, I know he appended his signature to a lot of mining leases, and including restricted mining leases as such. Mr. Speaker, it's part, I'm coming to that. What is the problem? I'm coming to that. Yes, restricted mining leases are meant for specific mining of specific minerals. So when we say it's restricted, for instance, this is a restricted mining lease for the mining of salt. So that is it. It's only meant for the mining of salt. As to the processes, it's a long and laborious one, and I can come back again to give that explanation to him. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Kofi Adams.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, my interest is in relation to the answer to a follow-up question about concerns that have been raised in both the K2 South and Kita, the adjoining constituencies, where even lives were being lost. The minister indicated they should bring petition because it's like news to him. I really would want to find out whether the ministry have a system in place in monitoring some of these mining areas and as to concerns being raised by communities, because there was demonstration and I saw it and I heard the assembly member for that area grant interviews. Is it the case that the ministry has no system to monitor these mining areas and respond appropriately? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think I explained to the honorable member that, yes, it's new to us. Yes, there can be demonstrations, but we may not know. It's important that officially documentary evidence is brought to us through petitions as to what is occurring there. So there's no harm in that. I'll urge the honorable members, the two honorable members, to kindly put their heads together and write to us, and the ministry will take it up. Anyway, even before you write, as soon as I get to the office, we are going to call on the Minerals Commission and ask them about it so that we can put in investigative measures in place as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. We can now comfortably move to Busa South. Busa South, Honorable Dr. Clement Abbas Apak.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I like your choice of words. Comfortably move to Busa South. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources what the quantity of confiscated rosewood donated to the National Cathedral project is, and where the donated wood is being stored.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the ban on harvesting of rosewood began in 2012, when on 31st August 2012, the then Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Mike Hammer, imposed a ban on the harvesting of rosewood, except for the 5 companies who were harvesting in the Bui Dam Reservoir. This ban, however, lasted for only a little over a month and was lifted on 5th October 2012. Mr. Speaker, on 15 July 2014, the ban was reimposed but was again lifted a couple of months later. In February 2017, government, realizing the unsustainable nature of the continuous exploitation of these 3 species and minded to preserve our forest cover, reimposed the ban on the harvesting and exporting of rosewood. Since then, rosewood harvested illegally were confiscated and auctioned, and purchasers at the auction were permitted to export them. However, our intelligence revealed that some unscrupulous people harvest rosewood illegally, and when they are confiscated, they manage to participate in the lawful auction of the wood and then disingenuously turn around to export them to the international market. To curb this phenomenon, we impose a ban on the export, import, and or trading in rosewood. And to give effect to this ban, we ban the auctioning of rosewood and the issuance of Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, CITES permits, for the purposes of exporting rosewood, whether acquired legally or otherwise. Mr. Speaker, on July 30th, 2021, I announced before this August House our intention to donate any rosewood confiscated towards the construction of the National Cathedral. Mr. Speaker, since this date, 12.5 containers containing an estimated wood volume of 250 cubic meters of rosewood have been confiscated and donated to the National Cathedral project. This includes the 5 containers impounded on 17 June 2021 at Tema Port. Mr. Speaker, for security reasons, all rosewood donated to the National Cathedral project are stored at the Forestry Commission depot in Achimota. As and when the project requires wood, they will make use of these confiscated wood. Mr. Speaker, let me assure my honorable friends, the member for Bulsa South, this August House, and the good people of Ghana, that our management of the natural resources of our country, including rosewood, will continue to be anchored on the highest standards of transparency, integrity, and candor for the benefit of the Ghanaian people, the owners of these resources. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Clement.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the Minister's response. And my follow-up questions are drawn from the content that he has just provided. Mr. Speaker, the Minister has informed the House that some 12.5 containers of confiscated rosewood have been given to the National Cathedral project. Can the Minister show us documentation confirming that the Ministry has indeed handed over the said rosewood to the National Cathedral project?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in my answer, and I would want to repeat again, I said, for security reasons, all rosewood donated to the National Cathedral project are stored at the Forestry Commission depot in Achimota. As and when the project requires wood, they will make use of this confiscated wood. Mr. Speaker, please, what it is that rosewood is a highly prized wood species. They are not meant for building construction. They are meant for the interior decorations, aesthetics, and even furniture and fixtures and fittings, and finishing of the project. At the finishing of the project, the cathedral project, Mr. Speaker, currently at this stage, they have not come to us that they need rosewood for use at the site because they have not gotten to that stage yet. We are keeping them in storage at Achimota depot, and anytime they need them, when they get there, they can come for them and we'll make them available for them. They are there. If the honorable member wants, I can go with him maybe tomorrow or any other day on a site visit for him to inspect them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister clearly has not answered my question. In his response, it says confiscated and donated to the National Cathedral project. Yes, I understand that perhaps it is housed at the Forestry Commission depot. But when you donate something to somebody, there has to be something to show that that donation has happened. So, I expect that the minister should be able to tell me that this is a correspondence between my ministry and the National Cathedral Secretariat, indicating that this quantity of rosewood confiscated has been given to them for use, so that even when they need the rosewood, they can then go to the Forestry Commission where it is stored to take custody and to use it. So you said donated. So how can you tell me that we should wait. You should know. Because if you donated, there must be some documentation. The recipient should have some documentation that you have donated this to me. In any case, my last supplementary question. Mr. Speaker, given that the National Cathedral project, from information we have, is currently suspended, what steps has the ministry taken to process the wood and to preserve it for if and when the National Cathedral project requires the wood for use?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am not aware of the fact that the National Cathedral project has been suspended. So as far as we at our ministry are concerned, we are still keeping the rosewood that we've confiscated in storage for the use of the cathedral anytime the project coordinators need them. Thank you.
You've exhausted all your... No. From Busa South, we come down to Kwadaso. Honorable Dr. Kingsley Nyako. Honorable Dr. Kingsley Nyako, you may have the floor now.
Honorable Speaker, permit me to ask the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources the progress made or being made towards the fight against illegal mining in the country. Thank you.
Yes. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the small-scale mining industry contributes approximately a third of our total gold production. Unfortunately, as a result of its impact on the environment in recent years, small-scale mining has sadly become associated with environmental degradation and water pollution. Mr. Speaker, since the beginning of last year, government has implemented several policies and programs aimed at coming to grips with this canker. We declared river bodies at red zones for mining, banned reconnaissance, prospecting or exploration in forest reserves, launched Operation Waltz 2 to raid river bodies and forest reserves of illegal mining activities, introduced speedboats and river guards to patrol and protect our river bodies, banned the manufacture, sale, and or use of the floating platform popularly referred to as chamfam, enhanced the punishment regime for persons involved in illegal mining, revamped community mining schemes, and developed an operational manual to regulate their operations. Mr. Speaker, we have also introduced a mercury-free gold processing equipment known as Gold Catcher to prevent the use of mercury in gold processing in order to fulfill our obligations under the Minamata Convention on Mercury. And we have launched the National Alternative Employment and Livelihood Program to provide alternative sources of livelihood to those engaged in illegal and unsustainable mining practices. Mr. Speaker, we have also retooled the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission and recruited more mine inspectors to enforce mining regulations. And in accordance with Section 92 of the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703, we have established small-scale mining committees in all 83 mining districts of our country to assist the district offices of the Minerals Commission to effectively monitor small-scale mining operations. Mr. Speaker, these gamut of measures have yielded some positive results, with a surge in the number of prosecutions and convictions for persons involved in illegal mining, including the famous Aisha One. With the support of this August House, pursuant to the Minerals and Mining Amendment Act 2019, Act 995, we have enhanced the punishment regime and increased the punishment for engaging in illegal mining to a minimum of 15 years imprisonment, together with a fine of not less than 10,000 penalty units for Ghanaians and a minimum of 20 years imprisonment, together with a fine of not less than 100,000 penalty units for foreigners. It is our expectation that those found guilty will be made to face the full rigors of the law. Mr. Speaker, I'll be the first to admit that we have not gotten to a satisfactory situation with our fight against this menace due to the complexities of this industry because of the huge sums of money involved. Government continues to put in place the necessary measures to deal with this canker. What must be noted, however, is that the fight against illegal mining is not an event, but a process. After decades of distraction, the results of our policies may not be immediately obvious, but we will continue to work with all stakeholders to protect our lands and forests as well as our water bodies for current and future generations. Mr. Speaker, let this August House be rest assured of my personal unflinching commitment to this fight, and I continue to be grateful for the support of members, individually and collectively. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. We move to question 1419. Question 1419. Oh, I thought you don't have any supplementary question because the answer is elaborate.
All right, Speaker. Please, I do have.
Okay, I'm giving you one slot for the supplementary. Honorable members, we have to make sure we run out a bit early so that we can prepare the chamber for tomorrow. So I'm limiting the supplementary questions. I'm limiting the supplementary questions to only one, and that is only for the owner of the question, please. So,
Speaker, if that is so, then I give up. Thank you.
Very well, thank you very much. So we move to question 1419. Question 1419, and it stands in the name of a member for Wa Central. Wa Central, Honorable Dr. Abdul Rashid Hassan Pepu. Dr. Pepu. Very well. If Dr. Pepu is not here, we will step down his question. That is question 1419 and 1420. These two questions stand in his name. So we move to question 1511. 1511. And it stands in the name of a member for Manson Kwanta. Manson Kwanta, may we hear you?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources the steps taken so far in registering artisanal miners who use local implements and tools in their mining activities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, by Article 2576 of our national constitution, all minerals in their natural state vest in the President of the Republic of Ghana on behalf of and in trust for the people of Ghana, and the Minerals Commission is by Article 2691 of the Constitution and the Minerals Commissions Act 1993, Act 450, responsible for the regulation and management of the utilization of mineral resources of our country and the coordination of policies in relation to them. Mr. Speaker, The Minerals Commission carries out its functions in accordance with the Constitution and laws duly passed by this August House, particularly the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703, as variously amended, and regulations made thereunder. Mr. Speaker, Act 703 recognizes only two types of mining, large-scale and small-scale. Artisanal miners are therefore, for all intents and purposes, small-scale miners and are subject to the same laws and regulations for small-scale miners. Such miners require a small-scale mining license, duly granted by the minister responsible for mines, and a small-scale mining operating permit issued by the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission before undertaking any mining operation. Mr. Speaker, to facilitate the easy acquisition of the license and the operating permit, excuse me, we have moved all applications online and have decentralized the processing of these applications to the regional and district offices of the Minerals Commission. In accordance with Section 92 of Act 703, we have established small-scale mining committees in all 83 mining districts of our country to assist the district offices of the Minerals Commission to effectively monitor, promote, and develop small-scale mining operations in the districts. And this is the first time since the enactment of Act 703 in 2006 that small-scale mining committees have been established in all mining districts. Mr. Speaker, in accordance with Section 103 of Act 703 and the Minerals and Mining Licensing Regulation 2012 LI 2176, the Minerals Commission keeps a register of all applications and licenses granted, which includes applications and licenses granted for small-scale mining. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, there is no special registration regime for artisanal miners, different from small-scale miners. All artisanal miners, if there is any such categorization in our country at all, are by law considered small-scale miners and require licenses and operating permits to undertake their operations. Such licenses are registered by the Minerals Commission. Any person who undertakes a mining operation without such license and operation permit is carried on an illegal activity. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Yes.
Yes.
Manson Panta.
Yes.
May you ask
yes.
supplementary question? Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to know from the minister, those of us coming from the mining area, we have some places where the lands are depleted and waste, and some of them I'm referring to as sub-miners work in those areas, distinguishing from those who are working in new areas. What steps can be taken to ensure these people are given some dispensation so in their operation they can reclaim the land and at least also pay something to the assembly as fees or taxes? And secondly, some of these places are not working in water bodies and forest reserves. So the military and the other security on these people can also be prevented. If I may want to know what steps they can take so that those people working in such depleted and waste areas can be considered. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Right.
Honorable Minister, did you get the question? Honorable Member for Manson Panta, the prelude to the main question was just be straightforward to the question, unless.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to know those working in depleted and waste lands, what can be done for those people outside those who are working in new areas and not in water bodies and forest reserves? So there's a difference between those working on wet mines, that is waste areas and depleted areas, and they are doing some sort of secondary mining there. So those people are not given any new sites to work on.
Yes, Minister, you may respond to him.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think I'll invite the honourable member to our ministry, together with the Minerals Commission workers, so that we can sit down with him and then get to the bottom of what he's suggesting and what he wants the ministry to do for him. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I've given a caveat that we will not give anybody the opportunity to ask. So, Honorable Minister, we will go back to question 1419. 1419. The owner of the question has just entered, and I want to give him the opportunity. He just come, and I just want to give him the opportunity, please.
Yes, we'll give him the opportunity, but we had agreed, we had come to some agreement.
Yes, I'm going to go by that agreement.
With respect, we think that we should finish with that of the Interior Minister.
Please, we are left with just two. Just allow him, and so that you will discharge the minister.
Yeah, but he was supposed to be in the chamber.
Leader. Yes, member for Wa Central. You may ask your question. Question,
Mr. Speaker.
1419.
I do appreciate. Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources why the government has to issue an executive instrument EL 144 to disclassify 40% of the Achimota Forest Reserve, and how lands in these reserve areas were already demarcated and sold out to individuals.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Achimota Forest, originally measuring approximately 1,185 acres, was acquired by government in 1927 and constituted a forest reserve in 1930 by Order 31 of 1930 for the purposes of fuel wood plantation for the Achimota School. Over the years, certain portions of the forest were released for other developments. For example, in 1961, about 150 acres of the forest was released for the construction of the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, GIMPA. And in 1969, about 182 acres of the forest was released for other developmental purposes. Now to the specific question. Mr. Speaker, most respectfully, given that on May 24, 2022, I issued a press statement detailing the chronology of events on this matter, and the fact that I have subsequently given a full brief on the matter to the Committee on Lands and Forestry of this August House, which the sponsor of this question is a ranking member, I will attempt to be brief in the answer. Mr. Speaker, on 25th September 2007, the pre-acquisition owners of the forest reserve, the Owu family, petitioned the then President of the Republic, His Excellency John Adekum Kufuor, for the release of a portion of the Achimota forest adjoining the Tetekwashi Malam motorway. Following several negotiations, government agreed to grant the Owu family a lease over a portion of the forest reserve measuring approximately 90 acres. This culminated in an agreement signed between the then Ministry of Lands, Forestry and Mines and the Owu family. This agreement, however, could not be implemented for some reasons. On 5th June 2009, the family submitted another petition to the then President of the Republic, His Excellency John Evans Atta Mills. In May 2011, the then Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Mike Hammer, constituted a special committee chaired by the then Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission, Mr. Samuel Afaridate, hereinafter referred to as the Afaridate Committee, to consider the petition submitted by the family and to determine whether the petition was legitimate and the area to be granted to the family. The committee, after its deliberations, concluded that the request, and I quote, the request for the release of a portion of land of the Achimota Forest is legitimate and reasonable for consideration. The committee recommended that a portion for the forest reserve, described as the peripheral portions, be released to the Owu family, and that, I quote again, steps should be taken to de-reserve the granted portions after the grant. Steps should be taken to de-reserve the granted portions after the grant. Following another petition on 12 March 2013 to the then President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the then Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Inusa Hussein, constituted another committee chaired by the then Deputy Minister, Honorable Barbara Sewa Asamoah, which endorsed the recommendations of the Afaridate Committee and added that the request of the family, this is also in quotes, should be expedited for the smooth takeoff of the Eco Park project. Based on the above, Honorable Inusa Hussein sought executive approval to implement the recommendations of the committee, and on 5th September 2013, President John Dramani Mahama gave executive approval for the release of the land to the Owu family. With the approval of the then minister, the Forestry Commission executed 3 leases in favor of the family, covering approximately 148.411 acres of the forest reserve. This size was, however, increased over the years through deeds of variations executed in 2014 and 2020 for various reasons. So, in fact, and in law, this portion of the forest reserve was granted to the Owu family in 2013. That is, the 148 had already been granted to the Owu family in 2013. However, the family had not been able to develop the land because the land, by law, remained a forest reserve. As recommended by the Afaridate Committee in 2011, it was necessary to take steps to de-reserve those portions given to the family to allow them to develop same in accordance with the terms of the lease already granted to them. One of the reasons for the delay in de-reserving the land was the proposal to make the development of that part of the land granted to the Owu family coincide with a planned eco park in the remaining portion of the forest reserve. I am, however, advised by the Forestry Commission that the intended developer of the eco park has failed to meet the conditions precedent to the project and was not in a position to develop the eco park. Meanwhile, the Owu family, as grantees of government, had, with the consent of the Forestry Commission, sublet portions of the land to private developers who were frustrated by their inability to develop the lands in accordance with the terms of the agreement. On 23rd March 2021, the family petitioned my office, and following the advice of the Forestry Commission, I sought executive approval from the President of the Republic and the advice of the Attorney General, and the said EI 144 was published to de-reserve the portions of the forest reserve already granted to the Owu family. Mr. Speaker, a careful reading of the EI 144 will reveal that not only was the area granted the Owu family de-reserve, but the instrument contains several provisions that seek to protect the ecological integrity of the remaining portions of the forest, including the development of a master plan for the area and the requirement of ministerial approval given on the recommendations of the Forestry Commission for the development of any part of the land granted. It is important to add, Mr. Speaker, that EI 144 does not stand alone, but came into force with the Forest Achimota Firewood Plantation Forest Reserve Amendment Instrument 2022 EI 154, which declared the remaining portions of the forest as a forest reserve and prohibits any activity on any adjoining land that affects the ecological integrity of the forest. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of how these lands were demarcated and sold to individuals, as I have explained, the land became vested in the Owu family in 2013. Since that time, the family has been granting portions of the land to private developers. For example, by a lease dated 10th October 2013, the Owu family, with the consent of the Forestry Commission, granted a portion of the land to IBISTEC and ADB Bank. And by a deed of assignment dated 22nd August 2014, IBISTEC and ADB Bank in turn assigned a portion of their land to Ladder Innovation and Creativity Company Limited. So, Mr. Speaker, once government granted the land to the family in 2013, the family was at liberty to make subsequent grants, which the family, in fact, made prior to the publication of EI 144. Mr. Speaker, the Achimota Forest is an integral part of government's plan for the protection of our forest cover and our agenda for aggressive afforestation and reforestation, and the government of President Akufo-Addo remains fully committed to its protection and proper management. Let me assure the House that government will act on any improper acquisition of public lands, regardless of how it was procured, whether now or in the past, and that Achimota Forest lands will not be an exception. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You have only one supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do appreciate and I thank the Minister for such an extensive response, but it does appear to me government is absolving itself from blame of the sale of lands to individuals. And the impression I'm getting is that it's the Owu family that is selling lands or releasing lands to individuals, not government. Is that the impression that you have not, from the ministry's point of view, released land to any individual?
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, and I would want to assure the honourable member that the government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has not sold any portions of Achimota Forest to any individual or company or whatever. Thank you.
Very well. So we move to question 1420, and it stands in the same member, Wa Central.
Thank you.
Honourable may take that substantive question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources what warrants the increasing sale of government lands in the Upper West region, Greater Accra, Ashanti, Northern and Volta regions.
Yes. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is important to state at the outset that public lands are not for sale. Indeed, Section 2352 of the Land Act 2020, Act 1036, prohibits the grant of a freehold interest or a perpetual renewal lease of public lands. Public lands may, however, be leased to private developers in accordance with a development scheme developed by the Lands Commission in conjunction with the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, LUSPA. Mr. Speaker, I am advised by the Lands Commission that the increasing interest in public lands is not new. This is largely due to the uncertainties surrounding land acquisition from stools, skins, clans, families, and private individuals. In most cases, people end up buying litigation instead of the land they intended to buy. Increasingly, people are taking the view that getting a lease from the government is a safe haven, as interest in public lands are less contentious and less litigious. Despite this increasing interest in public lands, government, in accordance with its fiduciary duty to protect public lands on behalf of and in trust for the people of Ghana, has put in place measures to prevent the unwarranted leases of public lands to private developers. In accordance with Article 2582 of the Constitution, I, as Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, on 17th August 2021, with the approval of the President of the Republic, issued a policy directive to the Lands Commission to, and I quote, refer all transactions relating to the grant of any interest in public lands to the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources for prior approval, end of quote. The directive added, and I quote again, any deed executed without the approval of the President through the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources will be deemed void, as same would have been done without the authority of the President in whom these lands are vested. Unquote. Since this directive, the Ministry is unaware of any such increasing transfer of public lands, as I have not given any such approval. As you may be aware, by the decision in Okujeto Ablakwa versus Attorney General, 2012, when the Lands Commission executes a conveyance in the name of the President is presumed to have approved of the transaction. When the President has therefore issued express instruction to the Lands Commission not to execute any conveyance on his behalf without the prior approval of his minister responsible for lands, any dealing by the Lands Commission without such approval is void, as same would have been done without the consent and authority of the President in whom these lands are vested. Any person who deals with the Lands Commission without ascertaining the existence of such prior approval would have himself or herself to blame. Mr. Speaker, as a long-term solution, the Lands Commission is pursuing a digitization and digitalization program to digitize all records of the Lands Commission to ensure an effective administration of land and reduce the incidence of land litigation and other issues. The Commission is also implementing the provisions of the Land Act 2020, Act 1036, that require prior demarcation, surveying, and registration before any transaction relating to the land, to bring certainty to the administration of land in the country and avoid incidents of conflicting claims. Mr. Speaker, the President of the Republic is aware of his fiduciary duty as a trustee of public lands, and government will continue to adopt the necessary measures to protect these lands for the benefit of the Ghanaian people. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Pepo, you have one supplementary question.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, thank you. I am very worried about the situation we are facing today, but he's justifying it based on the demands of people to buy lands that don't have challenges. So, Mr. Speaker, will the minister tell us that the lands acquired by government are for a purpose, or just because, they just acquired for nothing's sake or for a particular reason? If it is for a particular reason, why do you have to sell it? So why are we not keeping government lands for posterity, Mr. Speaker? Even if we are not selling it today, why do we not keep it for posterity? Why do we have to break buildings here to build a cathedral? If there was land, they wouldn't have done that. We would have gone there to do it. You sell the lands, you break buildings.
Honorable member, the question.
Mr. Speaker, so what?
Honorable member, your question.
The question is simple. I'm asking him, why are they not keeping the lands for posterity, and why are they selling it?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I mentioned in my answer that public lands are not for sale, and no one is selling public lands. And I want to assure the honourable member that the government, and for that matter, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, will continue to protect and preserve all public lands that is in our preserving authority, and which we are doing so for the ranking member and the entire people of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, the issue of the National Cathedral is also another public use. It is a public use. It is not, the cathedral is not for any person. It is for the people of the Republic of Ghana. So if the land is being used for a national cathedral, I think it's also in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. On behalf of the House, let me thank you for attending upon the House to answer so many questions on behalf of your minister. We are grateful to you, and you are hereby discharged. Let me now invite the Minister for Interior. So, honorable members, I will invite you to pay 2. Urgent question A. The question stands in the name of a member for Wa West. Wa West. Honorable Peter Table. I hope I mentioned your name well. So you may ask your question now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The right pronunciation of my surname is Togo. So my full name is Peter Lanchene Togo. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to ask the Minister of Interior the question. What the current state of the investigation into the 2022 serial killings in Wa is? Thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, following the unfortunate kidnapping and subsequent killing of 5 private security guards at different locations within the Wa municipality, the Police Management Board, led by the Inspector General of Police, met the paramount chiefs and opinion leaders in Wa to assure them of the police commitment to delve into the mystery surrounding the serial killings and arrest the perpetrators to face Mr. Targeted special intelligence investigation conducted by the Ghana led to the arrest of 20 suspected persons in connection with the kidnapping and killing of the 5 private in September 2022. Out of the number arrested, 7 are still on remand. 20 are on court bail. The police administration is yet to locate and identify 3 other missing private security guards, namely Alansan Yaya, aged about 53, missing since 23rd August 2022. Samwini Camilos, aged 42, missing since 9th October 2022, and Dadigbe Kwame, aged 57, whose date since he was missing is not definite. Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, as part of the measures put in place to eliminate incidents of serial killing and kidnapping, the police administration has initiated vigorous campaigns within the communities to sensitize the citizenry, mostly the youth, on security tips concerning serial killers, and kidnappers. Currently, the police administration has deployed operational men on the grounds in Wa, performing day and night patrols, as well as mobile foot and motor patrols. Police intelligence officers are also working around the clock for clues to lead to the resolution or solution of the problem. In addition, the police service is appealing to corporate bodies, individuals, institutions, and the general public to adopt the habit and invest, subject to their strength, CCTV cameras at vantage points of their properties to supplement the work of the police. The police administration strongly advises the populace to be vigilant and to report any suspicious characters within their communities to the police or any other law enforcement agencies for prompt action. Right, Honorable Speaker, the state of the investigation is that still ongoing. Thank you.
Very well. Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Hold on. Before I ask you to take your supplementary question, let me indulge all of you. It's 2 o'clock, and I'll plead with you that you allow me to extend the time beyond the normal hours. So, Honorable Member for Wa West, you may ask your supplementary question.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity for a supplementary question. My brother, the Minister for Interior, looks too serious for me. Tomorrow is just the match for Ghana and Portugal. When we get there, I'm sure that you are going to smile a bit. But to my supplementary question, Mr. Speaker, what the police has done in Wa is applauded all over the country. It's applauded by the people of Upper West ourselves. As a Minister for the Interior, what are you doing in your own capacity to ensure that this particular crime, as it emerged in Wa, will not re-emerge anywhere in this country? Thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have been personally involved in the arrangement from the initial stages. I only mentioned, because this is the answer from the police, but the Honorable Member of Parliament for Wa Central will testify that I went to Wa, visited the Paramount Chief, and consulted other opinion leaders to see how we could deal with this unprecedented occurrence. So I have been personally involved, and not only has the IGP and POMAP members come to Wa to deal with the municipality, they actually went through all the districts and municipalities of the Upper West, arriving in Nandom at 3:20 a.m. and we all woke up. It's a thing that is of concern to the whole region, and I want to take the opportunity, Right Honorable Speaker, to applaud the cooperation, the enthusiasm of the Paramount Chief of Wa and other chiefs in the region who have shown interest and commitment to collaborate with the police to make sure that we get to the bottom of this matter. And they have not just done so in words, they have also gone out, and I want to say that these arrests were effected and achieved because of collaboration and involvement of the citizenry in those areas. So it's a matter that we all want to see the end of, and I believe that the deployment that has been carried out in WA is also special because the police service want to make sure that should these unfortunate events recur anywhere, they would have probably worked on a blueprint to be able to apply there. So yes, this is what is happening in the WA and Upper West. As far as the other parts of Ghana are concerned, the honorable member is a very knowledgeable police officer, and does know that one of the challenges we had was that most of our country was not covered by police infrastructure and personnel. This is a thing that we've worked with the Parliamentary Committee on Defense and Interior. It was 43%, and we are progressively rolling it out to cover all those spaces. Going up north, if we pass, for instance, on the Upper West Road from Wenchi, you met no police installation, no police patrols there. But recently we've seen a series of presentations and donations and by also the government and formation of foreign police units, which this House, through the committee and the special discussions, consultations we had in Akusumu, approved. While we are waiting for the fortified equipment to come, we've decided that vehicles, be the nucleus now, pickups and other vehicles, and we have a number of motorbikes that then work to link up with those establishments. As I speak to you now, I told you the last time that some of the places, including Sisala West and Sisala East, because there was a question at that time, are going to be covered. The whole country is going to be covered. And before the end of the year, you would hear of more vehicles that we are deploying. And I want to tell you that these deployments are helping a lot in reducing crime generally and armed robberies. These days, when you hear engagements between armed robbers and the police, I believe the police normally, distinguish themselves. And I want to add that no one is actually out to kill anybody. Just 24 hours, past 24 hours, there was a situation where 3 armed robbers were arrested because they were not using guns. No police used a gun on them because they didn't feel under threat, even though there's a loss of lives. We arrested them and tried. But I want to say that increasingly, the police service is working very hard, and the use of motorbikes is actually enhancing their impact. And above all, the collaboration with the journalists and the information that we get. I can say, having been privileged to be a minister all these years, that there's now increased information coming to the police, which shows that the public is getting more confident. No room for complacency. We are not there yet, but I want to say that we are doing our best, and I would like to say that this House has contributed immensely to that and making sure that the President's agenda to make us feel safe is on course. Thank you. Right on.
Honorable. Let me give Honorable James. Please be straightforward today.
Yes, sir. Honorable Minister, you, as part of the strategies to deal with the serial killings in WA, mentioned that there is the need for CCTV cameras to be deployed at advantage locations within the municipality. I'd like to ask what the impact of the Alpha project has been on the fight against crime, particularly in Wa, given that this is a project which resulted in the deployment of quite a number of CCTV cameras, especially in the regional capitals. I've been to Wa, and I know when you go to Wa, advantage locations, you find CCTV cameras dotted around. What has been the impact on the fight against crime?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Right, Honorable Speaker, the impact of that program, of those cameras that have been set up in the Alpha program, has been immense. It has assisted us. But the issue is that most of those, the coverage is along the roads and slightly off the roads. What we need to do is to expand it, because we realize that most of the places that these persons were kidnapped were in the interior, where there were dark places, and therefore the impact of those cameras, although good for the municipality, have not been that much there. And that is why we think that if we get support, and one of the things I believe we might have mentioned and which we will mention has to do with even our operatives having portable, using our phones and rest of them to help us to get. But yes, the impact has been quite great, and we look forward to another phase to enhance the scope of that. It has been very useful. And as we have these, so we are able to tell the patrols, are able to get information and follow up. It has been useful. I have no doubt that since there has been a lull now, it could also be part of the apparatus and the arrangement that has achieved that. Thank you.
I'll give the last lot to Wa Central.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is indeed true that the minister, along with the IGP, took the matter very seriously and were present themselves to investigate and to find out exactly what to be done. But I want to find out from him, all the people arrested, whether there have been any specific finding that any one of them is actually involved and is going through prosecution. Because when I went there and I asked the police, they told me these are suspected people. They haven't yet firmly grasped anybody. For such a length of time, can you confirm that anybody is caught and can be prosecuted to satisfy the justice that we are seeking for the people who are murdered?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I can appreciate the weight on the West Central MP who wants expedited action, and I share with that. But what we are being careful about is we've gotten suspects that have connections. But we want to find out. We believe or we suspect that there must be a larger group, and if you like, maybe bigger fish in these whole matters. Is it a matter of a gang that's dealing in human parts because they took some of those parts? Is it just people who are involved to use those parts for their individual benefits? It's ongoing, but as you know, the investigations must end up with assessment of the statements that we've got and advice from the Attorney General to enable us to take that next step. I believe that if people are on bail, it means they are still conducting investigations as far as they are concerned. You know the constitutional limitations that we have. And 7 have been remanded, may have to be that there's something more important that we need to find out. What we shouldn't forget is that we do not want to finish it quickly. We want to finish it effectively. And our prayer is that we'll be able to do so at the end of it all. So thank you.
Very well. Oh, leader.
Mr. Speaker, just a very simple question. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I want to find out from the minister, the investigation so far, does it reveal why the people targeted are the private security personnel? All the 5 people you mentioned were all private security people. Why are they killing only those people? Is that investigation pointing to a reason why they are the people that they are targeting?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. I will tell you the hypothesis. Most of those people who are private security were isolated. You go deep into parts of Wa, which is dark, and you have one watchman who is there. So it's easy for a group to go and just pick them. They are not operating in crowded areas where, others will be around to see. So it looks like they were actually isolating and taking advantage of the fact that those who were more vulnerable. But one thing that's encouraging is that the locals have now come up with their own methods, and they have actually helped us even to discover some of the corpses so far. But what goes through them is that those areas are, outskirts. They are not near anywhere. The lighting system there, are not good. So I think that they were vulnerable by reason of location. And that is what we are now covering by the patrols going through all those places. But I think that that's one thing that goes to them. They were isolated and vulnerable.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. On behalf of the House, let me thank you for attending upon the House to answer an urgent question, which is so crucial. So on behalf of the House, we are grateful to you, and you are hereby discharged.
Speaker,
yes.
I guess we can now go on to item 7. Earlier, the Speaker had admitted 2 statements, one in the name of the Honorable Ranking Member for Education, and the other in the name of the Chair of the Environment Committee. So if we may, if you may start from the Chair of the Environment.
Well. So let me invite Honorable Dr. Emmanuel Mafo, the Chair of Environment, Science and Technology Committee, on a statement is it COP27 that was recently held in Cairo. So, Honorable, you may take the floor and read your statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, mindful of time, I would ask Hamza to capture the full statement as having been read. Mr. Speaker, Ghana is a party to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change and a signatory to the Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Agreement. The 27th Conference of Parties to the UNFCCC, COP27, took place from 6th to 18th November 2022 at the Land of Peace, Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. Among other MPs from Ghana, I was privileged to participate in the conference, first as the chair of the Global Parliamentary Group of the Climate Vulnerable Forum, and also as a member of this House. The Climate Vulnerable Forum is comprised of 58 member states representing the Global South and it is the foremost international cooperation body for nations most threatened by the climate emergency. The Global Parliamentary Group is a network of parliamentarians across the CBF member states working to share valuable experiences and good practices on legislative measures in support of ambitious and urgent climate action to safeguard communities and progress towards the CBS goal. The Speaker, COP27 was labeled as the implementation COP, where expectations for concrete actions towards achieving the overall goal of limiting global warming to the 1.5 degrees centigrade goal were to be negotiated and sealed. The COP27 had 5 broad objectives. First, finance how the $100 billion per year commitment by 2020 was to be realized and advocate for it to be split equally between mitigation and adaptation. Second goal was to align emission cuts to the 1.5 degrees limit. Third was to provide crisis support for vulnerable countries, including Ghana. Fourth was to fulfill the Glasgow promises on transport, energy, methane, finance, and deforestation. And finally, to set the foundation for global stocktaking by establishing a clear, transparent, and honest global assessment process for the first assessment in 2023. Whilst I believe that the UNFCCC and the Ghana CBF Presidency Secretariats may provide a comprehensive report on Ghana's participation in the COP27 and major outcomes relevant to Ghana in due course, I'd like to focus my statement specifically on my participation and, by extension, the participation of other Ghanaian parliamentarians. The Speaker, I'm happy to report that for the first time, a presentation from Parliament under the theme, "The Role of Parliament in the Implementation of National Climate Policy," was put on the agenda. I, on behalf of the parliamentarians participating, made a presentation to the audience at the Ghana Pavilion. Indeed, if national climate policies can effectively be implemented, we need parliaments to step up our legislative budget and oversight roles, particularly in ensuring that sectoral budgets and programs reflect the national policy commitments. Central to this is the need to continue to build the capacity of members of parliament to enable them to catch up with the ever-speeding issues in the climate change space. In this regard, developing templates for monitoring climate policy budget program action across climate sectors such as forestry, energy, transport, works, housing, education, local government, and the environment are key. Related to strengthening parliaments is the need to have a climate change caucus, bringing motivated MPs from across all relevant committees together. The time for Ghana's parliament to have a climate change caucus as one of the recognized caucuses with adequate budget support is now. Speaker, I can also report that as chairman of the Global Parliamentary Group of the CBF, I led a delegation of parliamentarians across the fraternity to have a number of bilateral talks during the COP27. Paramount of this was the meeting with the delegation of the United States Congress, ably led by Speaker Nancy Pelosi. During that meeting, we made a strong case for the U.S. to support the development of climate prosperity plans, which is an ambitious investment strategy to turn climate vulnerabilities into opportunities for green job creation, energy transition, and resilient infrastructure. The CBF Global Parliamentary Group is working on providing a blueprint to its members keen on developing climate prosperity plans to permeate climate prosperity plans in their functions of oversight, budget making, law making, and representation. We also made a strong case for debt for climate swaps, a position that I'm delighted that the Ghana presidency of the CBF, led by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, also advocated strongly during the head of state session at the COP27. The specific proposal on the table is to invite bilateral debt for climate negotiations with developed countries to write off specific debts and request payments to be used by the indebted climate vulnerable country to finance specific negotiated country-specific climate adaptation projects. Mr. Speaker, a recent report published by the CBF observes that almost all vulnerable countries have a high public debt to GDP ratios, and that their fiscal space to accommodate climate investment is highly constricted. Mr. Speaker, the Interparliamentary Union organized a side meeting for parliamentarians on climate change during the COP27. And again, I led both the Ghanaian parliamentarians and the CBF Global Parliamentary Group to participate. I announced at the CBF meeting, at the IPU meeting, that the CBF Global Parliamentary Group, in collaboration with the Interparliamentary Union, will in 2023 host an accountability summit. So, Speaker, the summit will provide a platform for parliamentarians basically to analyze the effectiveness and the efficiency of our nationally determined contributions to respond to and align with the 1.5 degrees centigrade goal. We also intend to assess progress and implementation towards the achievement of the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk-related targets of the Sustainable Development Goals, and also intend to assess progress made towards the delivery of climate finance. Mr. Speaker, among other things, at the end of the day, the IPU recommended many practical measures to confront the climate emergency. Mr. Speaker, I'm also happy to announce that under my facilitation, COP27 gave birth to the newly established African Parliamentarians Network for Climate Action as the African caucus of the CBG, with membership from within and outside the CBF network. This is a network to mobilize African parliamentarians leading climate actions in their respective parliaments and countries to learn from each other, provide a voice at the continental level, and shape climate policy and actions across the continent. Speaker, every effort was made to assemble African parliamentarians at COP27 to come together, and I must say that my colleagues, the Honorable Patricia Page, Honorable Francis Adabo, Honorable George Kwame Abuaje, Honorable Frederick Obin Adom, Honorable Ebenezer Telabi, Honorable Kennedy Osei, Honorable Suhini Al-Hassan, and Honorable Rashid Peku were very instrumental in the mobilization efforts. At the end of the day, the network, with founding members from Ghana, Kenya, Uganda, Chad, Guinea, Senegal, Nigeria, Namibia, Tanzania, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Burundi, was formed, and a 5-member executive body chaired by the Honorable Jacqueline Amongin of Uganda was elected. Since then, we have received messages from many MPs across the continent happy to join the network. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to also announce that in addition to the Ghanaian MPs aforementioned, the CBF also accepted the Honorable Zinato Ajiman Rawlings into its group of climate champions. This brings Ghana's number of MPs in the Parliamentary Champions Group to about 10, including the Honorable Frank Anodompre and my good self. I hope that many more MPs will demonstrate commitment to climate action and join the group. My goal is to exponentially increase this number by the end of my tenure across the CBF network. Mr. Speaker, what is becoming increasingly clear is that Parliament occupies a very strategic niche in translating the high-level global climate policy talks to national and local actions. And we should embrace ourselves to be effective at playing this role. For us in Ghana, we need to build a critical mass of parliamentarians for climate advocacy. We need to build capacity of MPs, and we need to take a leading role in local climate actions. Even the Parliament of Ghana may take actions to reduce our carbon footprint by speeding up with our e-Parliament agenda in order to reduce the volumes of paper that we consume. Mr. Speaker, whilst thanking you for your cooperation and support, particularly in addressing the very first dialogue of the CBF GPG in Kigali, Rwanda, I respectfully urge you and indeed the Parliament of Ghana and its entire leadership to continue to support the Ghana presidency of the CBF, particularly my tenure as the chair of the Global Parliamentary Group from now to 2024. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honourable members, due to time, we will invite one. If leadership may be interested, then 2. So 1 and leadership 1. Yes, let me come to is it a foot west? Autu Senya West. Yes, Autu Senya West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this past month has been a month of environmental consciousness and climate change consciousness across the globe. And much as some of our colleagues were in Egypt at Sharm el-Sheikh for the COP27, another group of MPs were also in Luxor, also in Egypt, about a week before the COP27. Myself, Honorable Yusuf, and Honorable Jifa Gomashi. Mr. Speaker, we're also representing the Parliament of Ghana at the Climate Parliament, a group of parliamentarians across the globe, and there were about 100 of us, and we're discussing issues pertaining to the challenges that countries are facing with climate change. As you know, the 1.5 degree, if the word to use is benchmark, is very critical because across the globe there are some countries, especially the island communities, that should there be an increase of 1.5 degrees in the temperature globally, those islands will find themselves buried under the sea. Because the glaciers in the North and South Pole will just melt away and they will increase the sea level. This is something that I think we all learned in geography. So it is very important that as parliamentarians, we are also part of the discussion, because our areas of influence, we have bird's eye view of our constituencies at the micro level, and the global level, there's a whole plethora of experience and various experience and knowledge and professionals that are very much interested in the climate change discussion. So I think it's also very important that we synchronize the efforts of the CBG. I'm happy that my senior colleague is the president of it now. We synchronize the efforts of the CBG and the Climate Parliament so that we're all on the same page and we're singing the same song, because we all want the best benefits from the climate change agenda. We also have to establish legislation towards climate change. We must not have it as a subsidiary issue. It must be a primary issue on the front burner, and I'm hoping that as the election year draws near in 2024, both parties will have in their manifesto, in their party manifestos, specific provisions for climate change adaptation. because as we try to enact the laws that would give the necessary guidelines for climate change issues to be streamlined, we must also make them pertinent issues in our political campaigns when the time comes. If we don't do that, we realize that we'll be regulating it to the background, and we may not give the importance that it needs. Interestingly, the African continent is not the one responsible for the damage that climate change is doing in the world. We still have the largest number, together with South America, we have the largest size of forest cover and all, and we are not the countries that are producing the highest number of emissions either. It's the developed countries who are doing that. That is why they were supposed to have pledged, as they pledged 100 billion for mitigation, they should have been able to stick to their pledges. Unfortunately, I think they were not as successful as that. But Mr. Speaker, I'm just hoping that as the Parliament of Ghana, we would also be able to walk the talk. And it should not just be a time of we have gone and we have discussed with other parliamentary colleagues, but in our constituencies, I would like to see a case where, for example, my Okada riders in the constituency will be able to have electric motorbikes and they have electric stations so that they'll be able to just charge their bikes at a minimal cost and still be able to facilitate the transport of people going up and down. I think there are a lot of interventions that are practical that could work for our various constituencies and Ghana as a whole. I'm praying that we will be able to be very proactive and will not wait for the next COP28, which will take place in Dubai or so. But in between that time, we'll be able to put tangible and objective measures in place so that we ourselves will be able to see the benefits of the interventions that we are trying to make in our various constituencies all towards climate change. Mr. Speaker, last year during the Greening Ghana, I was able to replant quite a bit of a coastline in Senya Breku because there were no trees, the coconut trees had just, they had vanished, and I just tried to replant. That is my own small contribution towards being a participant in the climate change agenda. Honourable Mafo has also stated in his statement what he has also done as an individual. I think every MP should try and take ownership of a little piece of the climate change agenda within their constituencies. And I believe that together we'll be able to make an impact as a country. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Let me come to Asopa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to add my voice to the contributions made on climate actions that have been so far taken, and the owner of the statement, Dr. Mafo, a member of Parliament for Rikrum. I'd like to first commend Dr. Mafo highly for the initiatives taken during the COP, the initiative to first look at the global climate issues and specifically bringing African parliamentarians together to ensure that we will channel the right path to address our low emission issues. I'd like to also commend all MPs that were present at the current COP, and I would say it is one of the conferences that I saw members of Parliament actively engaged in all forms of discussions to ensure that we are ready to promote the climate agenda. It came to light, Mr. Speaker, that the government of Ghana is ready in a way and has identified 3 priority sectors that we are going to engage in. And currently we have identified 35 projects which are our priority projects for which we are going to embark to ensure that we will be able to lower our emissions. But in these areas, we also realize that there are issues The issues that had to be addressed is one that is of financial needs. Finance or inability to mobilize investments and financing at the national and international level is a key setback. We also realize that the lack of climate risk disclosure mechanism is also something that is also setting us back. And then access to high quality information and consistent data. These are the issues that are currently setting us back. On the issue of financing, I'm happy to note, even from the the statement made by Dr. Mafu of our President's intervention to ensure that we will address our problem by exchanging our debts with what the climate financing will afford us. And one of the things that we need to bear in mind is the fact that even the 100 million that is being paid, the contributions, we have very few countries that have honored those contributions. So if you bring any other suggestion, it might not immediately augur well to address the issues that we are currently facing. As African countries, what we need to do is to bring our efforts, make sure that we come together and ensure that we have various channels of using local financiers, bringing our local investors together to mobilize some funding to address some of the projects that we have already identified. It is also critical that before we can even implement these INDCs, which are climate actions that have been identified, it is very important that we have our legislation in place. And I'm not surprised that at this point in time, all African countries are interested in ensuring that we get together and then we look at the best practices and how to channel these best practices to implement the climate action. I also want to say that the issue of climate change is something that we as parliamentarians must take seriously, especially in our time of budgeting, looking at our budgeting needs. The green budgeting is what has been proposed to be implemented, and it is very important that as a group of parliamentarians in the country will become very much aware of what it takes, and it will involve every sector, because it's a cross-cutting project or program that is in place. And then it is also good that we have currently involved our youth, because a youth day was held on our pavilion, which is the Lands and Forestry Pavilion, and we were able to exhibit the good works that our youth are currently engaging themselves in. Apart from it being a climate action, it is also a source of revenue for the youth, and it is also imbibing in them the culture of ensuring that we don't deforest or deforest our current forest, and then we'll also be able to undertake afforestation in the magnitude that is required. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I'd like to thank you for giving me this opportunity.
I believe the leadership are yielding theirs to their members, so I'll give it to member for Techiman North.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the maker of the statement, Dr. Manfo, for his well-researched paper on COP27. Mr. Speaker, I've looked at a lot of definitions for climate change, and the one that I find all-encompassing is the one put together by the United Nations, which says, with your kind permission, I read, climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperature and weather patterns. These shifts may be natural, such as through variation in solar cycle. But since 1800, human activities have been the main driver of climate change, primarily due to burning of fuels like coal, oil, and gas. Human activities emphasis mine. Mr. Speaker, the effect of climate change on us is that we know, for example, as a rural MP, that climate change is affecting our farming activities because now we cannot track when the rains will come, and it affects livelihood. Yet, we don't seem to take climate change seriously. I am of the view that we don't have enough information of the devastating effect of climate change on us. That's why I agree with the maker of this statement that MPs and the general public need a lot of education on climate change and what it does for us. Or we are also living in the age where we say that what you do not know will not kill you. Science has shown that what you know will not kill you, but what you do not know will kill you. So now that we know a bit about climate change, what are we doing, especially as parliamentarians? I've heard speakers mention what they have done in their constituencies. I add my voice to what I did in Techiman North during the last tree planting exercise. With the help of schools like Abrefi Secondary School, Boyam Secondary School, or the JHS in Mesidan, Esuye, and Boyam, I was able to plant 3,000 trees along Esuye Mesidan Road. In helping to curb global warming, I think we are also instilling in the young people the need to be careful about the environment by planting trees. This is not good enough. We must, as a country, invest money in climate change. We cannot only pay lip service to climate change because, Mr. Speaker, we are all in this together. When it comes to the devastating effect of climate change, we are all in this together, and I want to use this opportunity to also add my voice that each member of parliament must have its own project in their own constituencies because we represent Ghana. Apart from the people of South, I think everybody in Ghana is represented here. So if each and every member of this parliament takes global warming seriously and do a small project, it will go a long way in helping us curb this global warming. I thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this statement.
Thank you very much. Yes, let him come to you, leader.
Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity to also support the statements ably made by the Honorable Dr. Marfo, the member for Oforikrom, and the chairman of the Committee on Environment. The Speaker, I think we should congratulate Dr. Marfo not only for this statement, but for the fact that he has done Ghana proud by the leadership that he's providing to this committee of parliamentarians that he leads. The Speaker, but before the world came to the recognition of sustainable development in the early 2000s, Ghana had come of age in this, in the sense that the 1992 Constitution expressly states this in the preamble, that the vision of Ghana as a corporate entity is to foster development
that would ensure growth not only for the people now living in the country, but for posterity. Mr. Speaker, this is expressly captured in the preamble of the Constitution. It is for this reason that governments are required to take measures to promote development of agriculture and industry, which will ensure a very balanced, or if you like, symbiotic relationship between industry and agriculture. Mr. Speaker, this is also expressed in vivid language in Article 36, Clause 3 of the Constitution. It is pursuant to this that governments are required to submit a coordinated program of social and economic development, also captured in Article 36, Clause 5 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, the other article that should be of relevance to us is Article 36, Clause 9 of the Constitution, which provides, and Speaker, with your indulgence, I may want to read. Article 36, Clause 9 of the Constitution provides that the state shall take appropriate measures needed to protect and safeguard the national environment for posterity, and shall seek cooperation with other states and bodies for purposes of protecting the wider international environment for mankind. Mr. Speaker, so I'm saying to us that before the world came to the recognition of sustainable development, protecting the environment to ensure the survival of humanity, Ghana had come of age in this. The MPs who related to what they are doing to brighten their own corners, the member for Ufurukum, Dr. Mafu, the chairman for the committee, and our lady from Awutu Senya East, West. What they are doing, the Speaker, is also pursuant to the provisions contained in Article 41 G. And Article 41G of the Constitution provides that the exercise and enjoyment of rights and freedoms is inseparable from the performance of duties and obligations, and accordingly it shall be the duty of every citizen to contribute to the well-being of the community where that citizen lives. So, Mr. Speaker, these pieces of legislation would suggest to us that there's a role definition for all of us, first for Parliament, for the state, for the executive, for the legislature, and for us as individuals. Mr. Speaker, I have time and again insisted of a vacuum that exists in our development agenda. And let me relate to Article 87 of the Constitution. Article 87, 2C of the Constitution provides, I'm talking about the National Development Planning Commission. The Commission shall, at the request of the President or Parliament, or on its own initiative, and C says, make proposals for the protection of the natural and physical environment. If the executive is not doing that, what have we done as Parliament to ensure that there is a format that would guide us in our national development agenda? The executive is supposed to do that, but there's a place for Parliament. If the executive is not doing that, Parliament can task the NDPC to also ensure that as a country we have a plan, an agenda for ensuring that our environment is well protected. Mr. Speaker, both Articles 268 and 269 of the Constitution come under the caption, protecting natural resources. What are we doing again in this direction? We need to be protecting our water courses, and yet we look on when we farm and build into streams. Last week, there was a statement in this house that warned us of the dangers of those of them living down south, the Wager Dam. Structures that have been built into the water course, such that if the integrity of the dam is threatened and they spill the waters, havoc is caused. We know this, and we are building in the waterways. Mr. Speaker, under the before independence, when the colonialists were in charge, all communities were required to plant trees. I'm not too sure that even these days, when we have communities coming up, modern communities, we are planting trees. Government has to initiate specific programs which will goad us on to plant trees. Before independence, all communities were required, all settlements were required to plant trees in the streets and alleys. No longer. We are now cutting down the trees. Mr. Speaker, lately, almost every day on the airwaves, we hear the devastation being caused by galamsey activities. What are we doing? We keep telling ourselves that all natural resources all minerals in their natural state belong to the state. Mr. Speaker, how do we ensure that these natural resources belong to the state? We should be able to trace and track the exploitation of these resources. In Ghana, on our books today, production of gold, for instance, is in the region of 2.5 million ounces. And yet you step out to Dubai, and gold from Ghana to Dubai alone is in the region of 5 million ounces. When you add the exports to India, Australia, Switzerland, Europe, and the Americas, Ghana is producing in the region of almost 8 million ounces of gold every year. We declare to ourselves 2.5 million ounces. The state is losing terribly. Our Mining and Minerals Act provides that just so that the companies exploiting the resource would let the state know how much they are producing. The law provides that the state has preemption on gold that is produced. What it means is that the state should have the first offer to purchase the gold that is produced in this country. That then will enable us to know how much gold is produced in this country. Nobody is triggering the provision in the law. And so we sit here not knowing how much gold that we produce in this country. Mr. Speaker, so we are our own enemies. I keep saying that when you travel by road from Tamale through Bolga, Paga, and enter Burkina Faso, between Paga and Ouagadougou, every stream that the road traverses is bridged on one side or the other of the road. And the water that is collected behind these embankments are used to irrigate their farms. You come to Ghana, we are not doing that. The waters running through to get to the sea get wasted. Mr. Speaker, it is the reason why the southern portion of Burkina Faso is greener than the northern portion of Ghana, even though the northern portion of Ghana is rainier than the southern portion of Burkina Faso. In Burkina Faso, because of the strict adherence to the concept of decentralization, if you cut down trees, if you burn the forest, and you are seen, you'll be lynched. A community where wildfire is set, that community, after the devastation is caused, the assemblies will assess the havoc and what constitutes their own common fund. The ensuing year will be used
to do afforestation for the place. As far as we are concerned, bushfires have become ritualistic. If you ask them, they will tell you that we are burning the bush to allow the animals to graze on the farmlands. What is this? Mr. Speaker, so desertification is coming closer to Ghana. The northern portion is approaching Sahelian environments than the southern portion of Burkina Faso. What are we doing to ourselves? Mr. Speaker, so I agree with my colleague that the statement that he has made is most profound, but let us domesticate what we are talking when we step out there, the gospel that we preach out there. Let's come home and domesticate the laws to ensure that we apply what we say outside, the lessons that we learn in greening our environment. Let's bring them home. Mr. Speaker, I thank you, and once again, I thank the maker of the statement.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, we are taking the last statement. Very short. A very short statement by the ranking for the occasion. Yes, honorable member for North Akachi, you may take your statement on the conditions of national service personnel. So, may this so.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make this brief statement on the need to improve upon the conditions of national service personnel in the country. Mr. Speaker, the National Service Scheme Act 1980, Act 462, established the National Service Scheme with the core mandate of mobilizing and deploying Ghanaian citizens of 18 years and above, and have completed a tertiary institution for national priority development programs through a mandatory national service program. The scheme has been in existence for almost over 40 years, and there is no gain denying the fact that the scheme has impacted positively on the lives of many Ghanaians. It made many young men and women travel outside their home regions into others that, under normal circumstances, they would not have done. The scheme at a point in time also made it possible for some Ghanaian service personnel to travel to other countries to render needed services in those countries. Mr. Speaker, it must be put on record that many of these national service personnel render essential services where it is not possible for persons who are in the employment of their organizations under very bad conditions would not be ready to serve. These national service personnel serve in rural communities which lack social amenities such as roads, electricity, and potable water, among others. Mr. Speaker, this year, about 115,000 service personnel have been deployed to the various sectors and regions to help in national development. What is worrying is the conditions under which these service personnel work. This year alone, over 50,000 personnel were deployed to pre-tertiary institutions to fill vacancies that exist at the level of our education. This deployment alone has saved the nation over 980 million Ghana cedis, which otherwise would have been paid to permanent staff of the Ghana Education Service. Mr. Speaker, currently, the National Service Allowance is 559 Ghana cedis 4 pesos a month. This allowance came into effect from January 2017 and has been the same ever since. Mr. Speaker, cost of living has skyrocketed so much that the allowance cannot in any way sustain the service personnel for the month. The cost of transportation has gone up several times,
as well as rent, among others. The allowance as it is now has lost value and needs to be reviewed immediately. Most of the service personnel have to be remitted by their parents on a monthly basis before they are able to keep themselves going. The sad situation becomes worse when this meager allowance is not paid in time. For those who ended their services in August last year, there were times when they were owed over 3 months of the allowance. Mr. Speaker, life was very difficult for them, and I hope that same fate will not happen in the case of the 2022-23 cohort of service personnel. Mr. Speaker, it is for this reason that I urge the government to review the allowances for national service personnel to reflect the present-day cost of living. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, I am inviting only one contributor from each side. One. I want to give it to the Chairman of Education Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to congratulate the maker of the statement, who is my ranking. Mr. Speaker, indeed, the National Service Scheme, which has been with us for over 40 years, no doubt, has contributed a lot to the development of this nation. The present numbers, which has escalated due to the free senior high school, which has made placement to our universities in their numbers, and therefore they are churned out into the labor force. To augment it, we need to find placement that will be lasting but not elastoplastic for many of these people who gain admission to the National Service Scheme to work. Mr. Speaker, it is about time that we increase their salaries or the allowances. But that notwithstanding, I will say that there are plans far advanced to do this. But this statement is coming just too late. We are having the minister is reading the statement of the economy tomorrow, and this cannot change anything. However, they have made available plans to increase the Minister of Finance. The Minister of the plans are far advanced to increase the allowances. Oh yes. Oh yes. Which may be heard tomorrow in what will be read. Mr. Speaker, we have as a nation to design environments, and that will help us to win the national service of government revenue. In other jurisdictions, several of these students are either on voluntary basis or what they do creates their own earnings. We have to make sure that we bring back some dying public services, which we can employ these teeming youth that will give them permanent employment, especially the health services, and again, other areas that these people can, like the manufacturing, agriculture, and agro businesses. These are areas that we have to be sending them to, and make sure that we design environments that will maximize their presence there and occasion creativity and innovation. Other than that, we are putting everything on the government, and I think it's woefully not sustaining. The present executive of the National Service will very soon bring to this House a bill that is trying to wean the national service off government payroll. And I think that is even long. That is what we expect this nation to see.
In the long term.
Yes, in the long term. In the long term, we would like the national service to be of itself, so that the national service personnel can even stay in at the various places that they are employed. So thank you very much, the maker of the statement, and I'll end it here to say that they will soon have a very good increment in their allowances. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to rankings statement. In fact, this is a statement that is long overdue, especially so when it comes to the allowance of service personnel. Way back 2016, they had this increment, and then 2017 implemented. Mr. Speaker, if we just oppose the economic situation now, allowance being 559.04 Ghana cedis, if we divide it by 20 working days, meaning a service person now earns 28 cedis a day. And if even the fellow is picking trotro from where he or she lives to the place where the fellow is offering service, it's just woefully inadequate to survive it. Just like many other people are struggling to survive, it means they are living by magic. And so, for the maker of the statement to say that parents are supporting personnel before they are able to end their year of service is a truth fact that we cannot dispute. The issue of the numbers have increased because the National Service Scheme has enveloped other organizations into its fold. That is, come to talk of the nurses, which used not to be. And so, in the short run, the scheme is helping to solve the unemployment situation. Assuming we didn't have a national service, thousands of nurses that are turned out annually and the university graduates that come out all would have joined the unemployment figures. But at least temporarily, the National Service Scheme, still being valuable, is helping the nation to sustain the youth for a time. A time ago, the government decided to add voluntary service. And the voluntary service was meant to at least cushion personnel temporarily before any agitation. Now we are not able. So going by my chairman's remark, that government should find a way out so that other private organizations can be absorbing them is a welcome comment. With these few words, so far we are being promised that the budget may help to increase, put on some additional money for them. We pray and hope that that becomes possible. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. We've brought statement time to a close. We thank the makers of the statements as well as all those who contributed to the statement. Leadership, any indication?
Mr. Speaker, if we may enter into the arena of public business and do the presentation of the papers listed.
Well. Honourable members, let me invite you to page 4. Page 4, item number 8, presentation of papers at the commencement of public business. So we will begin with 8A by the majority leader.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Office of the President for the years 2017 and 2018.
Honourable members, the statement has been duly presented. It is referred to the Finance Committee for consideration and report. We move to 8B. 8B by the Minister for Health.
Speaker, if I may seek the indulgence of the Chair.
Well.
To need a document on behalf of the Minister for Health.
Well.
There is a meeting now to consolidate what may be coming tomorrow.
So 8B.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Community Health Nursing Training College, Isiama, Western Region for the period July 2019 to September 2020.
Honourable members, the statement has been duly presented. It will refer to the Committee on Health for consideration and report. We turn to 8C by the Minister for National Security.
Mr. Speaker, my information is that C is not ready, so we will not be late. So we can go to D.
So we move to D.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Doma West District Assembly for the year 2020.
Honourable members, the statement has been duly presented. It will refer to the Committee on Local Government and Rural Development for consideration and report. We turn to E by the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration for the year 2020.
Honourable members, the statement has been duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Foreign Affairs for consideration and report. Let's now move to F, the Chairman.
Reports of the Committee on Education on the Ghana Commission for UNESCO Bill 2022.
Honourable members, the report has been duly presented. It is for distribution to honourable members. We turn to G. GI.
Mr. Speaker, all the items under G aren't ready yet, so we have to stand them down. All of them under G.
Are you now turning to the addendum paper?
So now we come to the other paper addendum.
Very well. So, honourable members, let's turn to addendum paper. Presentation of papers by the majority leader.
The Coordinated Program of Economic and Social Development Policies 2021 to 2025, Agenda for Jobs 2, Creating Prosperity and Equal Opportunity for All.
Honourable members, the program has been duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Poverty Reduction for consideration and report. Yes, leader.
The Speaker, I believe we finished with the advertised program for the day, except to remind members. I don't know whether the Speaker made an announcement, but we intend to sit tomorrow, begin proceedings at 9 with the statement that we said we're making. in respect of the Black Stars. So we begin proceedings at 9. In that regard, Speaker, we're required to be here at 8:45. That then will mean that we'll be able to start the presentation of the budget statement and economic policy at sharp 10, so that we'll be able to finish latest by 1, in order to be able to prepare for the prayers and goodwill towards the Black Stars. So tomorrow, the House will begin at exactly 9 in the forenoon.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, let me, in that regard, sound the members of the Business Committee that the committee will sit just after the presentation of the budget. And I believe, because we have the draft almost ready, we will certainly spend less than 30 minutes upon adjournment to do the consideration.
Well, Mr. Speaker, since it's by long past 2 o'clock, we are in your care. But I hope that, as the leader says, or sometimes we adjourn, we say we meet at 10, and then by 10, some of us will rush here, only to start sitting at 12. So we hope that the 9 o'clock that leader is saying, we'll try and make do with the time, so that even if it is 2 members and we sit, that will force all others to rush in. With this, Mr. Speaker, we are under your care and hope that we will adjourn till tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well.
Mr. Speaker, again to remind, because of the discourse that went on in the Speaker's holding room, that those of us who would have the paraphernalia of the Black Stars could wear them tomorrow.
Yes, on that note, I understand there will be a statement on the floor on Black Star, the national team. We are going to have a statement. Yeah, tomorrow, before the budget reading. So, honorable members, I would like to thank all of you for your cooperation. Tomorrow, time is 8:45. 8:45. The House is accordingly adjourned to tomorrow, 8:45 in the forenoon.